You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We're 57 days away from the midterm elections, which is why
my goodness,
there are so many meltdowns going on from the mainstream media and the political establishment. But, I just want to say this coverage of Queen Elizabeth on the American media is so overblown beyond imagination. I know those of you that live outside of the United States, you're in if you're in the English-speaking world listening to us, you're either in the UK, Canada, or Australia. I know we have listeners all over the world, but we have a lot of listeners in Australia, Canada, and the UK. And I understand you're in Commonwealth nations and all of that. And we got no beef with England and America, but we did have a revolution, very violent one, to rid ourselves of this. And in America, growing up, there was this Saturday morning educational kids cartoon series called Schoolhouse Rock. And they had this whole series called America's Rock. And it was about, there was a song called No More Kings, which is about the American Revolution.
Great song.
Yeah, and every Gen X American knows that song. And this is just out of control, insane with coverage. But I have a theory on this. And
as to why they're doing so much.
Yeah, and a lot of you out there are going to tell me that I'm crazy, that it's this other reason, that it's this or it's that. But if you think about what I'm going to tell you, and you after you get over the initial thing that I'm out of my mind and I don't know what I'm talking about and it's a distraction from the real news, think about over the next few days what my theory is, and I think you'll agree with me. See, I've had this theory for a long time. I've talked about it on the show in the past, although not for a long time. I believe that in many, many ways, the United States did not win the American Revolution. And let me tell you what I mean by this. If you look at so many of the elite in this country and in the UK, they're all connected, right? Bill Clinton, Mayor Pete, Oxford Rhodes Scholars, right? A lot of Jessica Tarloff on The Five on Fox News went to the London School of Economics, which to me sounds like CIA. You know what I mean? If you look at the major conflicts of the last really over 100 years that the United States has been involved in, British intelligence and the English government have been involved in getting us involved in almost all of them. And I'll give you a handful of them, okay?
And they always steer us down the wrong path.
Yeah. The war in Iraq, I'm not talking about Gulf War I, I'm talking about Gulf War II, faulty intelligence from British intelligence that there were weapons of mass destruction. The Brits got us into that war. That cost a lot of lives and a lot of heartache. The fake Russian dossier was British intelligence, okay, against President Trump. Both world wars, we were brought in by England, okay? And
we had to save their necks.
Well, whatever, but we lost a lot of our necks in that, and a lot of terrible things happened. The British have gotten the United States into all of these terrible conflicts and issues. They've been undermining our country, and I think that our deep state and their deep state is the same deep state, and I think that the American media is so entrenched with deep state contacts that are the American national news media, the cable news and the network news is all CIA, okay? It's all deep state, NSA, FBI, CIA, and all of that. And I think that the American media are so into the deep state, and the deep state, like I say, the U.S. and British deep state is the same deep state, that it's like they lost their queen. And that's when I say, in many ways, the American Revolution was not really won by us, because how many Americans are dead because the Brits got us in World War I, II, the lies on the weapons of mass destruction, and this dossier it was a terrible thing that's just been from British intelligence has caused all kinds of trouble in this country. And this is nothing against our British MAGA friends, okay? We got a lot of UK MAGA out there, and you guys are awesome, and we love you, and I have no problem with England, just like I don't have a problem with the United States. But our deep states are bad news. They broke into President Trump's home. You know everything they do. I don't have to go through a Sean Hannity list of things. You know all the things I'm referencing. And that's why there's so much coverage of the king and the queen, because of all of that. And,
well, I think another thing is, I think elitists think very highly of themselves, and they're very snooty. And the one group of people they look up to are the Brits. They're kind of like Hitler in that regard. Hitler loved the British people too. He thought they were the ideal. And I feel like the elites look at them like they're the ideal. They're in love with their accents, which is a very nice accent. But it's like when a British person talks, they get all gooey inside and just think it's the greatest thing in the world because they talk pretty. They think they're more intelligent than even them. Like they think, the elite think they're the top. They think they look up to the British, I feel, and they are just enamored of them. I don't mind looking at some English stuff. I really like the pomp and circumstance of it all. And, I have a little connection with my family with that. But I do think it's a bit much. I thought it would go through the weekend, and I do respect the Queen, and I like the Queen. But I feel that today I thought they would have moved on. Yeah. So I'm a little surprised on Monday they're still going with it.
Yeah, so that's my theory. You guys can let me know if I'm crazy in the comments. Well, I know I'm not crazy if you think I'm crazy, but I think
you're crazy.
I think if you think about it for a while, you'll agree with me. All right,
There's something going on. It's a bit much.
Yeah, now
I agree with you on that.
The View is one of the most poisoned hours of television in the history of television. It's a terrible place. The women on The View are the most self-important, no-talent, nasty women. I used to be a fan of Whoopi Goldberg back in the 80s, early 90s. Since she went on The View, she's just become a terrible person. And it's really sad because she's very talented, very funny. She used to be. She's a great actress. And now she's gone over there. She's lost all of her talent and has just become a self-important, very ugly on the inside person.
I don't know. Maybe she was always that way.
Nah, she was. I've seen her on interviews and things. She's changed. She's
politics can do that to somebody.
And she's around this coven of just nasty women.
Yeah.
The View, since The View went on television, when they had all different people on it that are on it today, it was always a nasty place on television. And they had Charlie Crist on Friday. And I know a lot of you are saying, I hear this all the time. I don't care. I love it. So many people, I don't watch anything. I don't go to any stores. I don't buy anything.
Exactly. They just live in a cave.
Listen,
they don't do anything. They just live in the cave and stare at the walls.
Oh, I don't watch The View either. Okay. But when something interesting happens on there or crazy or stupid, I see it on social media. I see it online and I pull up the audio and talk about it. Okay. So I don't want anybody to think I'm watching this show.
No, we don't watch The View.
And I don't really think many people watch it. I think most people do what I do is they see a clip on Twitter and they like, idiots. But anyway, Charlie Crist, he's a Democrat here in Florida for now. He used to be an independent. He used to be a Republican. He's running for governor against Ron DeSantis. And Charlie Crist is a real sick, twisted man. He used to be our governor. Mm-hmm. He was a Republican. He was Jeb Bush's lieutenant governor.
Yep.
And then he was our governor. And
then he lost.
Yeah, well, no, he decided he wanted to be in the Senate.
Yeah.
So and so he became an independent. He did all kinds of. I don't know. He's just a nut. Okay. So Charlie Crist, he goes over on The View, and Governor DeSantis has turned down an interview on The View because what is there to gain? He's going to sit around with these nasty women. So Charlie Crist, because he's a Democrat, he went over to The View. And he figured he was going to get a free ride. And that's not exactly what happened. I got two clips I'm going to play for you. And the first one is Joy Behar and Charlie Crist attacking our great governor here in Florida, the greatest governor ever, not just of Florida, but the greatest governor of any state in the United States.
Greater than Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, throughout the history of American governors. I mean, he's amazing. He's amazing. So anyway, here's Charlie Crist with Joy Behar having a bit of a love fest, and then things get ugly with Anna Navarro, which we'll get to in a minute.
Anna Navarro's ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Your opponent, Ron DeSantis, refuses to come on this show.
That's a shame.
So I say, if you're afraid, if you can't deal with us, how are you going to deal with, Kim Jong-un and Putin? If you can't even take on Sonny Hostin and Sarah Haynes. You know what I mean? It's like a cowardly move on his part. So I give you points for coming here today.
Okay. So Joy Behar, who has one of the most unattractive accents of anyone I've ever heard, she called Governor Ron DeSantis a coward. Now, Ron DeSantis is a war veteran. He was embedded with the Navy SEALs, and I believe it was Afghanistan. It was either Iraq or Afghanistan. I think it was Afghanistan. So he's a combat veteran. So to call a combat veteran a coward, I think that's a little bit over the line. Don't you think?
It's just a tad.
Yeah. And the reason that Ron DeSantis doesn't go on The View is what's in it for him. I've talked about this several times. I've turned down many interviews. I turn down interviews. Not that I will never do an interview. If you're interested in interviewing me, you can contact me. But I don't do a lot of interviews. And the reason I don't is because once you do an interview, that person has the video or the audio of you, and they can cut it up any way they want to put you in whatever light. I do very few interviews. I did an interview over at Mar-a-Lago right after the break-in on the Daily Wire. Okay? I mean, I may not care too much for Ben Shapiro, but I trust the guys at the Daily Wire. I did an interview with NTD. I trust NTD. There's certain people that I'll interview, but I ran in the listeners at Mar-a-Lago. They were doing all these interviews with CNN and stuff. I would never talk to CNN because they don't want you to look good. Well, they want you to look bad.
I don't think DeSantis obviously is afraid of The View at all.
It's not about being afraid.
I don't think he's afraid of anything. I think he doesn't want to give them validity.
There's that too.
I think he feels the show. Look, this is an entertainment show that has turned ugly and has turned into a political show. And they really feel they are like a political show of record. And let them think that. No, people only talk about them because they're making fun of them. They're laughing at them, not with them. But they see themselves that way, that all of a sudden they're like this huge political show and they've become political. So fine. And that's because of Trump. But I think he didn't want to go on it for two reasons. I think now the statement that was made by his people was put out by like somebody that worked for him when they put out that statement. But I feel personally that he feels The View is not worth his time.
Oh, yeah, I'd agree with that.
And it's not a valid show. It's an entertainment show. And there's a lot of shows I don't think he would go on for that reason, because he feels it's a waste of time. Look, the guy is so super busy. I can't even tell you. Every day he's somewhere in the state working his butt off. He's got small kids. His wife's dealing with cancer. He's got a lot on his plate right now. He's running for governor again, re-election. To go to The View, he'd have to fly to New York. It'd be a one-day thing, but have security, this and that's a big hassle. It'd be a whole day thing. So his thinking is, do I really need to waste a day of my life where my time is so valuable to go on this stupid show where the women are stupid and everything? So he just didn't want to validate this show. That's my personal feeling. And I think when Charlie Crist went on the show, I don't think they would have invited Charlie Crist on this show unless Ron DeSantis had turned them down. So he's kind of the sloppy seconds guy. They got him by default because they wanted DeSantis, but they got Crist instead because DeSantis passed.
Well, they're so arrogant.
And so I think he went on thinking he'd come out like a big hero, like I'm brave, I'm tough, and DeSantis is a coward. Well, you'll see in a minute. I think Charlie Crist really regrets this decision.
Well, they're so arrogant on The View. They think, oh, well, Ron DeSantis is going to come here. We're going to put your opponent on and give him a free segment. Like Ron DeSantis cares, right? So,
he doesn't care.
So Charlie Crist, if you're outside of Florida or new to Florida, you guys don't remember back when he was our governor. He was Jeb Bush's lieutenant governor back when he was a Republican. Now he's a Democrat. He was an independent. I mean, he's a real pathetic person, Charlie Crist, and he's one of those guys that's got to hold some type of office or he feels like a nobody. I don't know too much about his financial background, but he's been in government his whole life. I'm sure he's well-to-do. So anyway, Joy Behar had her little love fest, and then Anna Navarro was on there, who supposedly is a Republican, and she went after Charlie Crist. Now, let me play this.
She is no Republican.
She went after Charlie Crist in a big way, so let me play this for you, and then I'll tell you what it was about, because this was a pretty interesting thing. Charlie Crist was totally humiliated here by Ana Navarro. Listen to this.
You ran in Florida 16 times. You've been in 16 elections in the last 3 decades. In that time, you've gone from a staunch Republican to an independent to a Democrat. Your own words, Charlie, have come back to haunt you, have been used against you. They were used against you. You did a robocall in 2006, which was part of a campaign, Republican campaign against you, and is now coming up again. And so I'd like us to hear it, and I'd like you to explain what the deal is. So you don't have to debate DeSantis. You can debate Navarro.
Hi, this is Charlie Crist calling to set the record straight. I'm pro-life. I oppose amnesty for illegal immigrants. I support traditional marriage, and I have never supported a new tax or big spending program. I support a constitutional amendment to protect traditional marriage, and I oppose adoption by gay couples. And I work to ensure the right to display the 10 Commandments in public places. Floridians need a consistent conservative governor that they can trust. I would appreciate your vote on Election Day. Thank you so much, and God bless you, and God.
Okay, so Charlie Crist is whatever he has to be to get a vote on any particular day.
That's for sure.
But this is why Ana Navarro did this, and he didn't get the free ride. Ana Navarro is a Republican, even though she acts like a Democrat. She hates Trump. But she's close with the Bushes, Jeb Bush in particular. She lives in Miami. She hangs out with Jeb Bush and his wife, Columba. And Jeb Bush feels betrayed by Charlie Crist because Jeb Bush chose Charlie Crist to be his lieutenant governor back in '98, and since he left the Republican Party, Jeb has felt embarrassed by it. He thinks it's made him look like a fool, and he's angry. And he sent Ana Navarro out there to try to humiliate Charlie Crist on TV as revenge, and it fits into Trump because I think it was Dick Morris. Steve Kane and I, the last time we spoke to Dick Morris on the radio a few weeks back, Dick Morris said that a lot of these attacks on Trump by the Republican establishment are because of the attacks that Trump made on Jeb during the debates back in the 2016 race.
I believe it. And
no, Dick Morris said this, and these are conversations he's obviously had with President Trump, that the Bushes are into revenge against him because Jeb and the Bush family blamed Trump for Jeb not being president. That was supposed to be his presidency.
It was, and if Trump,
in their mind,
if Trump had not run, he probably would have won at least the nomination.
Yes.
He totally.
Yeah, he would have gotten the nomination.
Because he was definitely the front runner, I think, and it totally got in his way.
Absolutely.
The problem with Trump, he came along and he was so exciting and interesting and made Jeb Bush look so boring and so not interesting and low energy, like he said. But it's interesting because, Ana Navarro, who I cannot stand, and I'm sorry, she's no Republican in my opinion. Like, she's like Nicole Wallace.
Yeah.
But she must have a long relationship with Charlie Crist because she's known Jeb Bush a long time. She's probably very good friends with his wife, and Charlie Crist and Bush go way back. Like you said, he was his lieutenant governor, then he became the governor. So she probably has known Crist for at least 20 years. So I wonder what it was like for him to be on the show. And I'm not saying they stay in communication, but for him to be there, and I think you're right, I think he thought he'd go there and it would be just, a love fest, and because he's running as a Democrat and all this stuff. They chose a very good robocall. I don't know how they found that old clip, because that's probably from 15 years ago. He lists all these positions that are like before gay marriage was legal.
It's because Jeb probably gave it to Ana Navarro because it was part of his campaign.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty scathing. And this is a problem Charlie Crist has in this state. And if you don't live in Florida, maybe you don't realize it too much. But he's really not well liked here because he is known as a flip-flopper. Everybody calls him a flip-flopper here because he has changed parties 3 times. And he changes parties.
He's out of parties to change into.
He'll start his own party. Yeah. He changes parties with each election and whatever he feels can help him win. He is a typical, I think he's like the worst kind of politician you can have because he keeps he has no convictions at all. And he said in that robocall, consistent conservative. There's nothing consistent about him at all. He could change his mind next week on what he feels. So, you know, I'm kind of glad they gave him a hard time, but I think he might regret going on that show.
Now, listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about, guys. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We will be right back after this.
Do you like things that go bump in the night? The podcast, Spooky Songs, is hosted by two people obsessed with horror and music. Scary music is not just for Halloween. It can be enjoyed all year long. There are so many great songs that are creepy and scary. On Spooky Songs, they discuss them all. Hosts Levi and Edgar discuss musical history with a touch of comedy. Each episode features songs surrounding a theme having to deal with horror, hauntings, murder, or the macabre. Join them as they delve into the history and mysteries of the music industry's most peculiar playlist. New episodes are on the first and second Monday of every month. Spooky Songs is available on Spotify. Start listening right now. Jewelry makes you feel special, and personalized jewelry is even better. Exclusively on Etsy, the shop specially for you. That's the letter U and all one word on Etsy.com. Sell custom jewelry that's as unique as you are. The items that's specially for you on Etsy come with Chinese, Korean, Japanese, or English text. Whether you want a name on a bracelet, keychain, tie clip, a ring, necklace, and more. They have exactly what you were looking for. Specially for You works with two very talented designers, and their items are handmade in Seoul, South Korea. Ordering is easy. Just go to their shop, specially for you. It's all one word and the letter U on Etsy.com. Place your order, tell them the name you choose, your font, and your language. The items are top quality and shipped directly to you or the recipient of your choice. Everything in the shop looks great. You will be proud to wear and give as a gift jewelry from Specially for You on Etsy.com. You're in business and you have a website, but if you need a website platform that grows with your business and want to break free from the do-it-yourself website building sites, it's time to check out SpiderSavvy.com. SpiderSavvy.com build autonomous websites for professionals. They provide the essentials to establish and grow your online presence. SpiderSavvy.com can help with web design and development, SEO, WordPress hosting, content development, and that's just the beginning. SpiderSavvy.com has been helping their very satisfied customers since 2005, and now they want to help you and your business. Contact them right now. Visit SpiderSavvy.com. That's SpiderSavvy.com. Building the web.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I hope the week is starting off great for you guys. It's starting off pretty good for us. Now, I just want to talk about this briefly before we get back into the specifics of the news of today. If you follow me on YouTube and you watch some of my YouTube shorts, you may have heard me talk about this. And I'll tell you why. Something's going on here. I just realized something strange is going on with me and liberals. You know, I have been so stressed out from news and television. You know, Kathy and I watch a lot of news like you guys do. And when I'm not working, not watching news, if I'm watching television, it's usually true crime, which is murders, rapes, kidnappings, you know, all this stuff. And it's real stressful. So I told myself the other day.
We like to hear about other people's problems.
You know, the other night, it was Friday night. We were watching something on TV. I fell asleep on the couch. And I was having these terrible nightmares.
Brian has never finished a movie yet. We watch movies sometimes during the week, but usually on the weekends.
Yeah.
And we were watching. We watched two movies, and the second one was Scream.
Oh yeah, let me tell what happened. So
the first one I can't remember. Oh, Better Off Dead.
Yeah, Better Off Dead,
Great
which is a movie from the 80s.
Great movie.
I fell asleep on the couch while we're watching Better Off Dead. And I'm sleeping on the couch in the living room. Kathy's watching movies. I'm having these terrible nightmares. I don't know what's going on. Like someone's killing me or something in these nightmares. And I wake up and it's Scream. Right? And it's the part with Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore was getting killed.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I told myself, you know what? The news is stressing me out. I'm going to have a heart attack. This true crime, all this rape and murder and kidnappings and missing people and all these things and Fear Thy Neighbor and all these shows, they're driving me nuts. And I said to myself, I need to relax. And it's very hard for me to relax. So I said to myself, I am going to start relaxing by reading. And so I've got 3 books, and I have vowed to myself that I'm going to read these books cover to cover, just as kind of like a meditation. I can't meditate. I'm too
uptight.
Yeah, probably. I can't. I tried meditate. I can't meditate. So I'm going to read. So I got 3 books. I have one that's on its way. That is Mikhail Gorbachev's History of the Soviet Union from its founding till the collapse.
That sounds like some nice light reading.
Well, it does. I thought. Well, I wanted. That sounds good. That sounds good.
There is nothing. All the stuff you put in your brain. There's nothing light about it. Everything's intense. This is why you're so high strung. Like, there's no like levity. Other than me. Well, maybe I'm the only bit of levity
I don't have the Gorbachev book yet.
I mean, you read intense books.
Yep.
You watch intense things.
Not always.
You talk about intense stuff. I mean, what do you do that's like just for fun?
Well, I'm very interested in this Gorbachev book because I want to learn about the Soviet Union from the last president of the Soviet Union, including
exciting.
I'm very interested in the fall period, the falling of the Soviet Union period from his perspective. I'm reading it I'm reading a book right now because I don't have that one yet. I'm reading a book now, which is very interesting about the causes of the Great Depression, learning some stuff that I didn't consider.
Another cheerful book.
And I've got a book coming that I'm going to have tomorrow. I'm almost done with this Great Depression book.
I'm getting depressed just hearing your book list.
I'm almost done with this Great Depression book. I got a book coming in the mail tomorrow by Brent Spiner, who played Data on Star Trek The Next Generation, about a stalker he had when he was filming Star Trek The Next Generation, which is something I could relate to since I have stalkers.
Or male?
His was probably female. Mine are all guys. But I got a book.
Isn't that weird?
I got a book.
That's true.
That I read from cover to cover on Saturday. I have never, the last time I read a book from beginning to end in a single day is when I was in high school detention. I had like internal suspension where you're in detention all day, like the Breakfast Club, and they would let us read. And I had a week of that, and I read a book a day, and a book a day because I was in detention all day for a week. So anyway, I got this book, and it'll relate. I'll get to where I'm going, guys. Don't worry, I'm not digressing. So I got this book by Will Wheaton, who played Wesley Crusher on Star Trek: The Next Generation. And it is a fascinating book. It's a book about it's one of the most honest autobiographies I have ever read. And he's talking about all the rejection in Hollywood and how he screwed up and how he was broke and he was selling his autograph on eBay. He was desperate to sell this autographed action figure of himself on eBay so he could pay the light bill, because his lights were going to get shut off and he's got kids and a wife. It's really pathetic. And
here's a novel idea. Why didn't Will Wheaton just get a job?
A real job? Well, anyway.
Oh, my God. What a loser.
I read this book. I got it Saturday morning. It came in the mail on Saturday morning. It's called I'm Still Just a Geek or something like this. And I was like just blown away by this book. It was so good. And I read the whole thing. I got it in the morning. I did a lot of stuff during the day, but I went out with our daughter, did some things. But I read the book. I was up until about 2 or 3 in the morning, Sunday morning, reading this book. I could not go to bed till I finished this book. So I finished the book. It's about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I said, I got to talk to Will Wheaton. I got to get Will Wheaton on the podcast. So I go on Twitter to DM Will Wheaton. He's got me blocked on Twitter. Will Wheaton's got me blocked on Twitter. And I'm thinking, what the heck? I can see his profile. He's got Black Lives Matter on his profile. And I was like, well, he's a liberal, but why has he got me blocked? And I was telling Kathy about that. I made a little YouTube short about this. And I'd forgotten when I made the YouTube short, I'm blocked by other people in Hollywood. Judd Apatow, who's a big Hollywood director. He directed Bridesmaids, Ron Burgundy, a bunch of other movies. Judd Apatow.
Both funny movies.
His movies are very funny. And I saw an interview a couple months back with Judd Apatow. And I'm like, this is an amazing interview. And I go to tweet him and tag him, and I saw that Judd Apatow has me blocked. So why do all of these Hollywood celebrities and has-been celebrities like, there's like some buzz about me in Hollywood that why does Judd Apatow have me blocked?
No clue.
Why does Will Wheaton how do they even know who I am?
Rosie O'Donnell too.
Yeah, Rosie O'Donnell has been blocked, but Judd Apatow is like an A-list director out there. How do these people even know who I am to the point to block me? They must be listening to the show, Kathy.
Maybe.
Something's going on here. I don't know how this happens, but I do feel a bit honored to be blocked, though, by people that I'm just amazed. They know who I am enough to block me. All right, now, this race in Pennsylvania is this probably, here we are, 57 days away from the midterms. Every race is important because we need as many Trump-backed people in the Senate, in the House, in governors, secretaries of state. Anyone Trump endorses, I don't care if he's endorsing sewage commissioners and dog catchers, we need them all to win, right? So all the races are important. But like with most elections, there's a couple that are high-profile celebrity races. And the two, here in Florida, Ron DeSantis, that's just a given. We know he's going to win. But but the two competitive, high-profile celebrity races that are really competitive, and they shouldn't be, is Kari Lake for the governor of Arizona and Dr. Oz running for the Senate in Pennsylvania against Fetterman. And both of these races are tight. They're celebrity races, and if either of them lose, the media are going to talk, this is the end of Trump and his power, and MAGA, it's over. And in 57 days, when the midterm election day happens, the chances of Trump winning every race with an endorsed candidate are slim. I mean, how could that happen, right? You never know with Trump. But any race that we lose, they're going to grab onto and say, this is the end of Trump's power. His endorsement means nothing. But if we lose Kari Lake or Dr. Oz, those are big. Those are ones the media will exploit for months, okay? And maybe even years. But anyway, a couple things have happened. I've got some new audio from Fetterman today, and I'm not going to play the thing where he yells, Fetterwoman, or maybe I should. He sounded so stupid, but he was speaking to a woman's group, and so he said, Fetterwoman. He gave a speech where he is so incoherent, he is not making any sense whatsoever.
He makes Biden look with it.
Mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He really is not.
Yeah.
And I really would like to see Dr. Oz come out and give an honest evaluation of him.
And give a medical opinion.
Be like, this guy has serious medical issues. He is not fit to run. They should put up a different candidate. And let me tell you, if you live in Pennsylvania, if you don't vote for Dr. Oz, because a lot of conservatives don't like him, if you don't vote for Dr. Oz, this guy will win. This Fetterman guy will win. Yeah. And you will be stuck with him for 6 years. And if you think Joe Biden is bad, this guy makes Joe Biden look like he's very fit and vital. This guy can't even hardly finish. I mean, it's much worse. And it's because he's had severe, literally, brain damage with a stroke. And clearly, he has not recovered. And I think, I don't understand what's going on with the Democrats, that they just can't find good candidates because they keep putting people up that are physically not capable. Yep. I've never seen anything like it. You got Joe Biden, you got this guy, and they're putting up people where the campaigning is detrimental to their health. Mm-hmm. And this guy needs to be in a facility going through rehab right now. Like your stepfather went to rehab after his stroke. He needs to be in rehab learning how to speak again. And he's out here on the campaign trail, probably not getting enough rest, eating garbage food, running around and sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night. It is not going to help him physically. He needs to be at home resting and recovering. And his wife and all these people pushing him into this are really hurting him physically and do not have his best interest at heart, because they really need to go to him at the party and say, look, you are clearly not physically fit. But they don't care. They don't care about him. They don't care about anything other than winning. That's all they care about at any cost.
And also today, before I play this audio, there is the first photograph that I have seen of Fetterman, maybe ever, certainly during the campaign, where he's not wearing the hoodie. And now we know why he wears the hoodie. The hoodie, the hood is over you don't wear it. It's not on your head. You have it off, and it's covers up the back of your neck. There's a photograph out today. You can see it on social media of Fetterman without the hoodie, and he's got this huge lump on the back of the right side of his neck. I don't know what that is, but it's the size of like a grapefruit.
I don't know if it has anything to do with the stroke he had.
Is it a tumor?
I don't think if there's a growth, whatever it is.
It's a massive growth.
It's
Size of
huge.
grapefruit.
I mean, it could be something Dr. Pimple Popper needs to take a look at.
No, it's not that. It's more severe.
No, she's seen cysts that big. It could be just a huge cyst.
This is something he's been hiding.
It needs to be addressed.
No,
it's something
Kathy,
he needs to deal with.
No, if this were a cyst, he'd get it taken care of. He wears the hoodie to cover this up. And
so
for
you
some
think it's
reason,
just like a natural, like a birthmark or something?
No, I think he's got like a tumor.
Why doesn't he get it removed then?
Because, he's incoherent. So he gave a speech today, and when we say that Biden is mentally more with it than Fetterman, that's not an exaggeration.
No,
Listen to this. This is Fetterman.
One of you didn't have a doctor in your life making fun of it, making light of it.
The way he talks is weird, too, his inflections. I don't know if he talked this way before the stroke or not, but as you listen to this, as I play it, Fetterman is a loser. He's a bum, right? He lived with his parents until he was about 40. He moved out of his parents' house, and then he moved into a place that his sister owned when he was the mayor. So he's never really grown up. He's like a teenage little boy. He's a bum, right? But he's taken the Bernie Sanders road to politics. Bernie Sanders was the same thing, lived with his parents till he was 40, and look where he's at.
One of you didn't have a doctor in your life making fun of it, making light of it, or telling you that you're not fit to be served.
T-serve, not fit T-serve.
He's making Dr. Oz's case.
And the other day with his speech to those union thugs, he said, "Send me to New Jersey."
He can't. Yeah. He's struggling with completing sentences.
It gets worse.
And completing his thoughts. It's obvious.
It gets worse.
Can you describe a stroke and what's happened? So I use the example. So pretend I want to go to Wegmans.
Oh my God.
It's the most important race for the Senate here for 22. We have to replace Pat Toomey. Oh, no. Senator Toomey was not very nice to me. Pat Toomey is a miracle. He had a chance to match me up again. Abortion is the ballot now in November.
Wow.
That's your Democrat for Senate in Pennsylvania.
The more he talks, the worse it gets. And I think the more he talks, he gets more confused and struggles more with his thoughts because it's a lot happening at one time.
Yes.
And the further he goes along, the worse it becomes. And it really, his wife should run. Now, maybe she has, I don't think so. The wives usually want their husbands to run.
She's always there smiling.
They like the power.
Mm-hmm.
But his wife should really say to him, you really shouldn't be running. You're not well. And it's clear. I mean, he's, and I notice he's a victim, which is typical of every liberal.
Everyone
wasn't nice to me. He was a bad man, and he was mean. I mean, he sounds like a 6-year-old.
Well, that's what I mean. He's never grown up. He's a child.
Exactly.
He's a bum.
He doesn't take responsibility.
No.
Compare him to like a DeSantis type.
Oh.
You know what Dr. Oz needs to do? I know he just had an event with 1,200 people. Was he with Mastriano?
Well, I want to talk about that.
Because they need to campaign together.
No, I don't think he was with Mastriano. If he was, correct me. But Dr. Oz on Saturday had an event in Pennsylvania. Over 1,200 people showed up. A woman in the audience collapsed.
Yeah, I saw this.
Dr. Oz jumped over the barricade, went and rendered aid while waiting for the paramedics.
That's great.
And this guy can't even put a sentence together. And this story of Dr. Oz turning into like a superhero doctor at this event, I haven't even seen it in the news.
Like I said, if you guys are in Pennsylvania, you might not be as excited about Dr. Oz, but if you don't go out and vote for him, you're going to get this guy. who can't even put a sentence together. And like I said, I'm not making fun of the guy, but he needs to be in a facility going through
stroke rehab,
physical therapy and rehab to help him make coherent thoughts.
What's going to happen, Kathy, when you have a stroke of any kind and you ignore it like he's obviously doing, he's going to have a major stroke.
That's exactly right. And traveling around, campaigning around, not sleeping as well, the stress, eating on the road, all of that stuff is bad for a stroke victim, I can promise you. And he's not living a healthy lifestyle right now. And I don't want something to happen to him. I feel bad for the guy. He should not be doing this. He needs to drop out. But I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on him. I don't understand what's going on. The Democrats see this. They're not blind. I mean, maybe they're stupid, but they see what's going on. Why don't they go to him and say, look, we got 2 months. We got to put up someone else. I mean, this is just not working
too late.
out.
No, he's already
too late.
No, it's too late. They already got him on the ballots. The ballots are already printed.
I guess so. Well,
so it's too.
So what happens
if
he he can't drop out even if he says I just
usually
can't take it?
Things have happened where candidates have passed away or something.
Yeah.
And it's too late. So what they do is they keep them on the ballot. If they win, the governor will appoint a replacement until they have a special election or something. It's too late to get him off the ballot. And don't believe those stories that he's agreed to a debate. That has not been firmed up. Also, Carrie Lake's opponent has not officially agreed to a debate either. There's a lot of stories saying that these debates have been scheduled. That's not true.
Well, if you have people that are across the board not refusing to debate MAGA candidates, that tells me that that's a decision made by the DNC. Yeah. That their thinking is, well, we're not going to.
They're going to get creamed.
We're not. Well, that's really what's going on.
If you were a Democrat, would you want to debate Carrie Lake?
But it's like an across the board decision that none of them are going to debate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, listen, we're going to take our last break. When we come back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be right back.
Hear that music? That means it's Christmas shopping season again. And when you're Christmas shopping, there's no better place to go than MyPillow.com. And with our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE, you will find the lowest prices ever on top MyPillow products. Right now, order your MyPillow My Slippers for $90 off in all sizes and colors for both men and women. The MyPillow that started it all is just $19.98. The 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper is 50% off. The MyPillow pet bed is 50% off too. There's also incredible savings on the 6-piece MyPillow towel set, the 100% Giza cotton dream sheets, the MyPillow bathrobes. Whatever special you see at MyPillow.com, you can take advantage of it with our promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout at MyPillow.com. You can also order over the phone, 1-800-716-4879, 1-800-716-4879, promo code KANE, K-A-N-E. Let's talk about murder. True crime is more popular than ever. People love to hear all the morbid details while trying to solve the crime. If you're a lover of true crime, you need to check out the podcast, Talk Murder to Me, with host John. You will delve into true crime like no other podcast has. Talk Murder to Me have over 350 episodes of in-depth, heavily researched true crime cases, including serial killers, strange murders and deaths, cannibalism episodes, unsolved mysteries, and even CIA and government cover-ups. Talk Murder to Me is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, and wherever you get podcast. Talk Murder to Me. Start listening today. The Steve Kane 2023 MAGA Cruise is right around the corner. We leave January 28th on the Celebrity Apex out of Fort Lauderdale. First stop, San Juan, Puerto Rico. Then Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. And then St. Kitts. With exclusive events just for our group. Fine dining together every night. Cocktail parties, shore excursions, onboard activities, and a whole lot more. On the line is Ian from Cruise and Travel Depot. Ian, why should listeners book right now?
I blocked this group space during COVID, during the height of the pandemic, so we got some incredible deals.
Call Ian right now and lock in your cabin. 561-244-5779. 561-244-5779. Join us as we celebrate our president, Donald Trump. Make your reservation right now. 561-244-5779. No liberal stowaways allowed.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Listen to this. President Trump's promise to grant pardons to I'm reading from The Hill, okay? So The Hill is liberal, like all the rest of the media. So the word choice, the phrases are, it's the Hill. They're liberal, okay? So these are not my words. I'm reading from The Hill. Trump's promise to grant pardons to the rioters who stormed the Capitol on January 6th is running into strong opposition from Senate Republicans. Senator Lindsey Graham,
oh, shocker,
one of Trump's closest allies. Yeah, really?
I don't think so.
He was John McCain's closest ally, too. Told The Hill that granting pardons to January 6 protesters is a bad idea. This is Lindsey Graham talking. Pardons are given to people who admit misconduct, rehabilitate themselves, and they're not supposed to be used for other purposes, he said. Okay, Trump has talked about giving pardons to the January 6 prisoners, which I support. And I think most of you listening to this program support that. Jimmy Carter pardoned the draft dodgers that fled to Canada.
True.
The draft dodgers got Americans killed because many of them, because they dodged the draft and ran to Canada, somebody else got sent to Vietnam in their place. And some of those boys were killed. And those draft dodgers were pardoned. The January 6th prisoners and the January 6th people that are still facing problems didn't get people killed. The only person killed was Ashley Babbitt, and she was killed by the Capitol police officer. Okay? Mm-hmm. Those draft dodgers, and I'm not kidding about the draft dodgers.
No, I think that's a really good point.
People
and I promise you're the only person that's going to make that point.
So
it's a good point.
And when they were pardoned, the media just welcomed it and everything else. So, no, Trump should run on pardoning the January 6 prisoners. Dr. Simone Gold from America's Frontline Doctors got out of federal prison after 2-3 months over the weekend. Louis Gohmert met her at the prison and gave her an American flag that flew over the Capitol. And when she came out, she did not look like herself. She was hardly recognizable. Did you see her after just a couple months? Yeah. For some of her time, she was put in solitary confinement.
How would you feel about... and maybe the audience could talk on this too. How would you feel about Trump inviting people to rallies, like inviting her to the rally on Saturday to speak? I think it would be a slam dunk. I think he should do it, have her come up and speak about freedom of speech, and all this stuff, and focus on that and talk a little bit about that. I would love to see that. I think that would be a really good idea. Bring up Brandon Straka. Bring up her. Remember how we brought up those families that had people killed by illegals? Mm-hmm. That was very effective. Shine a light on it. Don't hide it in the dark. Shine a light on that and show people what political prisoners look like.
Yeah, I think that's a
There was no reason for her or him to be there.
No, I think that's a great idea. Yeah. Now, I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much, everyone. And remember, all Patreon supporters have access to commercial-free editions of all of our podcast episodes. And there's also other content up there. Kathy and I post things up there that we don't post anywhere else on our Patreon page, as well as on occasion we do Patreon exclusive podcast episodes that are a little more casual, relaxed, and revealing because they're just for our Patreon supporters. Mm-hmm. And all of that is on our Patreon page. There's a link to our Patreon page in the description of this and every episode. You click on that link, and if you become a Patreon supporter, you get access to all of this content on top of the fact that you're supporting this program, and it's very much appreciated. Our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you on each and every podcast episode. And also our top Patreon supporters, your names are listed in the description, not just of my podcast episodes here with Kathy, but our top Patreon supporters, your names are also listed in all of my YouTube video descriptions. I just started doing that a couple weeks ago. It's something new I've been doing, but your names and a thank you is in every YouTube video description from this point forward since about 2 weeks ago. And again, you get a live on-air thank you shout-out if you're a top Patreon supporter. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, Dee, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, and Macho. Thank you so much for your support. Those are our top Patreon supporters. And again, there's a link to our Patreon page in the description of this and every episode. Click it on and become a member. Okay, now this thing here, you may think it's about the Queen, and the discussion may really kind of be about that, but that's not why I'm playing this. Boy, did the hatred of of Western civilization come out in a lot of the liberal media this weekend. I want to play this clip.
I was really shocked. Is to speak about a woman right after she died. Somebody so high profile to speak so poorly of her, I thought was in very bad taste.
This is on MSNBC. This is this guy, I've forgotten his name, Ari something or other, one of these jerks on MSNBC. He's interviewing a historian about the Queen, and he gets obsessed about colonialism and the evils of colonialism. Listen to this.
Yes.
Andrew, are you really denying what I just said about British colonialism? Are you really doing that, Andrew? Are you really doing that?
We abolished slavery.
Andrew, this is not a propaganda show. Andrew, I need you to stop. I need you to stop for a second. I need you to stop for a second. Are you really taking issue with the horrors of colonialism, Andrew?
I'm certainly taking issue with your remarks about slavery, which we abolished 32 years before you did, and we didn't have to kill 600,000 people in a civil war over it.
So you think that that's fine, that there are people all over the world who were born in colonial countries, because when I was born, the British Empire still existed. That's okay for everybody to think.
Which country were you born in?
Kenya.
Right. And the Kenyans not only supported the appointment of Prince Charles, now King Charles, as the head of the Commonwealth. We've just had a fantastic statement from the president of Kenya saying what a wonderful thing. And
the president of the United States is going to attend her funeral. The fact is,
so why on earth do you want to concentrate on the negative things of an institution which is 100 years ago now?
I can read you my opening again. I didn't concentrate on it. I said that there are many people in the world, many millions of people in the world. I don't know if you have social media, but you should check it out, who don't think we should be celebrating the British monarchy right now.
Okay. This anti-colonialism thing, this is so ridiculous. The royal family are tourist traps, right? It's like Disney World of the UK, basically. And I don't care what they say, this constitutional monarchy, that's tourist trap, that's it. But this anti-colonialism, I haven't heard that in a while, not since Obama was around. That was a big thing with Obama. Colonialism is what has given us Western civilization. And we would not have civilization as we know it if it was not for English colonialism. So I think English colonialism was a pretty awesome thing. And it gave us our country. It gave us many other great countries around the world. It led to freedom from kings and queens through the American Revolution and our Constitution and Declaration of Independence and all of these things.
What is it there
would be no democracy if it wasn't for
what
their
is this colonialism that the Queen? I have known nothing about this. Maybe I should.
Well, what this guy's talking about,
this is new to me.
He's from Kenya, but he has a American accent just like we do. So I guess he didn't want nothing to do with Kenya. This was Obama's problem, okay? His family, his African family, Obama's, not the Kansas part of the family, were not just anti-colonialist in Africa. They were violent activists against it and took part in attacks on the Brits. They don't like the idea that the British controlled big parts of Africa and other things like this. The era of British colonialism really ended after the First World War. It was totally obliterated after the Second World War.
So what's her involvement with this? She became queen in the 50s.
She became
How
queen
is she a part to this?
after all this stuff.
Right. So why the hell are they blaming her?
Exactly.
That makes no sense.
Exactly. I mean, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous, isn't it? And,
yeah, it is.
Well,
they just want to hate. What it is? They're just full of anger, and they got to put it on somebody.
These leftists, usually they're hating on America. But this is the deal. It's not just America they hate. They hate Western civilization. And I would ask this guy here to point to countries around the world that without British colonialism, which led to the birth of the United States, because without colonialism, there'd be no United States, right? So what country around the world is a civilized country that you would want to live in that is not a good place to live in because of British colonialism or American influence. Like Japan, right? Japan, before we took it over after the Second World War, before that, it was like a feudal system.
Well, this guy here from Kenya, he's benefiting from British
by living in America.
By living here, I mean, we were settled by the British.
Exactly.
They're the first ones that came here.
And he's on American television with an easy life.
These are people that just hate white people. Period. That's all it is. They hate white people. They hate America.
They hate our culture.
But he lives here. He speaks like an American. He makes a lot of money. He's on American TV, lives an American lifestyle.
That's right.
He's benefiting from the colonization of America.
He's out of his mind.
He's not living in his home country because you know why? If he was living in his home country of Kenya, he wouldn't be on TV. He wouldn't be living in a penthouse in New York. He wouldn't be making millions of dollars.
What he would tell you is, Kenya may not be a first world country, but that is because of British colonialism.
Well, this guy that he debated should have said to him, well, why the hell are you living in New York City?
Yeah.
America was colonized by the British a long time ago. You're benefiting from that. Why are you living there?
Exactly.
You got to turn it around on these people and show their hypocrisy.
Enough of these haters of Western civilization. Listen, we're all out of time for today, but we'll be back next time. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
In life, we wear many hats. Many times, we come to a place where we need direction and understanding on how to operate in the vast areas of day-to-day living. Everyday wisdom principles to impact your faith, family, and finances. The King Solomon Podcast serves as a reservoir for wisdom. They provide actionable kingdom principles that have drastically changed their lives, and their goal is to empower you to do the same. When you listen to the King Solomon Podcast, you will learn how the kingdom of God can transform your life. Godly wisdom is the key to true peace. And the King Solomon Podcast can help you build a strong foundation centered on the wisdom of God. It's time to make your life count. You can find the King Solomon Podcast on all podcast platforms and YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube for all the newest shows. The King Solomon Podcast. Start listening right now.